Good morning and welcome back. This is World Talks coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Stalia Strzemska. Europe is enduring one of the most extreme summers in its modern history. Record-breaking heat, devastating wildfires and deadly temperatures have forced hundreds of thousands from their homes and reignited the debate over whether the continent is prepared for a much hotter future. To discuss, I'm joined by Paweł Szypulski, Program Director, Greenpeace, Poland. Hello and welcome, sir. Delighted to have you with us.
Likewise.
So let's start with Poland, because just a month ago, the country has recorded its all-time high temperature. So is this extreme heat an evidence of climate change, or could it still be regarded as a natural phenomenon?
No, it's no longer a natural phenomenon. There's nothing natural about Earth's climate at this stage where we are. And the knowledge, the scientific knowledge that we have right now actually allows us to attribute this kind of events to climate change far better than we used to. So they were already caused by climate change. We didn't know that for a few years already. So this event, for example, we quite well known, thanks to the climate science, that the heat that we experienced would not be so high without climate change all over the Europe. So a few additional Celsius degrees were added by burning fossil gas, oil and coal. So these things are nothing but man-made disasters. This heat that we experienced, but also floods that we experienced in Poland as well. Actually, Poland is one of the luckiest countries in Europe this summer, because we're not going through the things that France is, Spain is, but unfortunately we will at some point.
So why is Europe warming faster than the rest of the world?
It's because of the geography. So the climate all over the world is changing, but Europe is the fastest warming continent, 3 times more than the global average. And there are 2 main reasons. We're very close to the Arctic, and Arctic is melting in a horrible pace. It's super fast what's happening there, and it's changing the balance in this part of the world. That's one thing. And the second thing is that geography makes the conditions for heat domes to happen far more in our part of the world. So we're far more exposed to a phenomenon that all the world experiences. Europe the fastest. And that, because of that, Europe has a special interest in acting on it. So being prepared, that's one thing, but also stopping it. Because if we would like to think about what's happening right now in the world, that it's a new normal, that we need to get used to what's happening, we would make a horrible mistake. Because what we see right now is not what will be happening. Things will get worse, unfortunately. So we need to plan for a different world, for a world that no longer exists in a sense like what we know. We need to be prepared, our firefighters have to be prepared, our army has to be prepared. But first of all, we need to stop burning oil, gas and coal, to stop making it worse.
Right, but Europe has already introduced some of the most ambitious climate policies, yet we're not one of the biggest emitters, right? Because we have China and the US. So is that effort even worth it?
Europe is very good in speaking about ambitious efforts. It's very interesting actually to see how different is the scale of actual action between China, one of the absolutely biggest polluters in the world, no matter if you will think about current emissions or past emissions, or a horrible behavior of the United States right now with President Donald Trump, who is simply a climate vandal. But yes, it's worth the effort. Everyone has to make something to stop the problem that we have to do. And there are also other benefits of actually climate action, of doing climate action. And unfortunately, it's China that's doing the biggest part right now, not Europe. If we would see the scale of renewable investments in China, if we would see the scale of change of the transport means in China, it would be stunning for most of Europeans to understand and to realize how different these 2 worlds are. So Europe is a champion of the world in talking about climate action, but unfortunately it's no longer the champion in terms of actually doing things. And yes, we absolutely need to do everything we can. We need to look for the allies everywhere where possible, because every degree matters. Every small change matters in what will happen in the future. Because it's a not linear process. It's not that climate change is something that you reach and it's there and it's not changing. It's going to get worse, depending on how much more fossil fuels we will burn. So now we have to do 2 things. We need to limit the emissions and to the extent that it's possible, because on many levels it will not be possible to get prepared to a completely different conditions that we will face in the upcoming years and decades.
But those policies are quite, the environmentally ambitious policies are also quite expensive.
Yes.
So aren't you afraid that they will lose popularity among the broader public?
I'm afraid of populist politics, not of the costs. I'm afraid of political short-termism, the fact that many politicians learned to bash climate policies. I mentioned Donald Trump. He's speaking about climate change as a hoax. It doesn't change anything for climate change. I mean, the world is getting hotter. He can tell whatever kind of lie he wants. And this kind of politicians, you can find them all over the world. In Poland as well, in Europe as well, those people who lie about it. And yes, these things costs, but lack of adaptation, lack of mitigation will cost far more. We're in a place where now farmers are losing billions of euros in Europe because of the weather that we are facing. And it's only the beginning. We are facing huge costs all over Europe of adapting to these events. These firefighters' actions, they are amazing work by firefighters, but they are also a tremendous effort financially speaking. So no, it's actually a cheaper solution. If we would be in a world where we can stop doing things and say, okay, let's keep this money in our pockets, it will somehow be then, yeah, we should say it's expensive. But unfortunately, this all money that we have to spend on energy transition and on transition in general is actually saving us money.
So what actions would you like to see introduced, and when could we see the results?
So the first things that are needed is phasing out fossil fuels as fast as possible. And it means doing a proper energy transition all over the place, everywhere, including Poland. So as I'm Polish, I can easily say about what I would like to see different done in Poland. It's a fact, we are phasing out coal in Poland, but we are making a tremendous mistake because we are filling the gap created by coal phase out with gas. So this is something I would not like to see. I would like to see renewables implemented on full scale. I would not like to see political populism that leads to situations where, for example, onshore wind legislation necessary for unblocking onshore wind potential in Poland is blocked for no actual meaningful reason, only to get some good media snippets to be, different than your political opponents. I would like to see this kind of things to change. And this will be necessary all over the place, and it needs to happen very, very fast.
What about nuclear?
Nuclear is not present in Poland. It's present in other places in Europe. I don't think there's anyone planning to phase out nuclear anymore in Europe. Germans did that, and because of that, they are using far more gas. So German example actually is a very good lesson for Poland. Like if you phase out one fuel, then you will need in this period when renewables will not be able to fulfill all the needs, you will need something, and it would be gas. So it's a very bad mistake. So we should learn from it in Poland and in other places as well. The difference between nuclear and renewables is that renewables can be implemented on a massive scale very fast. That's the reason why they are essential in that. But also there are many other changes that will be necessary. For example, again, Poland is a very stark example of that. In many places we have changed our ecosystems so that they lost a lot of ability to store water. Poland used to be an extremely wet country. It used to be actually a wetland country. And unfortunately, over the decades, previous government, not the democratic governments, it was a communist mistake done in Poland, but unfortunately it lasts still this very day, invested a lot in straightening the rivers, in making them less wild, in draining the wetlands. And because of that, there is far less water stored in our ecosystems. We can and we need to reverse some of that, to not be facing this kind of level of drought that we have right now, because it will harm the farming in our country on a massive scale, and in Europe, not only in Poland. Poland is simply like a very vivid example of this change that needs to happen. So these things will have to change, and also there will be necessary changes and adaptations necessary in fighting this kind of events. So unfortunately, we'll need far more money for firefighters. We'll need far more money for our army, our police, to be able to cope with this kind of events.
Paweł, and of course the situation is affecting us humans, but can you tell us about other species as well? Can you paint us a picture of what's happening?
Well, it's a devastating moment for other animals than humans, because we can hide in places, we can use AC, for example. It's not something that's possible for a bird that is exposed to it, that lives in, let's say, farmland, is exposed to these weather conditions. So this whole event is devastating on so many levels. There is no water that is necessary absolutely for life. There's no shelter. There's incredible heat coming. So it's a massive pressure. And for example, birds are in Poland. It happened this year. It will happen, unfortunately, every time we will have this kind of heat wave. Lost their kids because of that. So birds, chicks, they simply, they almost burned in their nests and they died. So it happened on a massive scale. It always happens in this kind of events. And we have to remember that climate change is not only about heat. It's also about changing patterns of how rain happens, what's the perspiration, and the amount of water that is in Poland, for example, in our ecosystems is the same. But the patterns change. So we used to have a very wet summers. It's not something we would normally think, but July and August were like super wet months in our country. Unfortunately, it's no longer like that. So sometimes if we think about that from the perspective of animals, we've got very severe rains at the time when they shouldn't be there. So again, it's another very harmful and very dangerous event for animals. So yeah, when we are suffering, and we have enough empathy to see other species, we have to remember that they are most likely suffering far more because they don't have all this fantastic cultural means to adapt that we do.
You've mentioned AC. It is way more popular in the US than it used to be in Europe. It is becoming more so. How bad is it for the environment?
Well, it is bad because, and for a very simple reason, AC is simply highly energy consuming. And it's not the only solution that is problematic. So we will be facing far more of these problems, like how to adapt without doing far more harm. And if we think about Europe, again, it's this uncommon situation that a very rich continent is really expecting a problem. And we can see things that are happening in other places as well. But if we think about this weather that we recently saw, there are places in the world when they know how to deal with kind of weather. So it's not only about AC, it's also about how we build our houses, how we insulate our houses, how we cool our houses. So a lot of know-how that can come from hotter places, not only AC. But unfortunately also a lot of our infrastructure is built for a world that no longer exists. Our infrastructure in our part of Europe is built to endure severe winters, not severe summers. And this is different qualities that you need to do in this kind of investments, like roads, for example, so that they do not melt. So AC is just only one piece of the big puzzle. We will have to find a way, and we will have to find the most efficient way, energy efficiency-wise, efficient way to deal with that. So also home insulation will be a thing. Paris, for example, this is an interesting lesson from a place that's already trying to cope with that, is using the fact that, like Warsaw, they have a very big distributed heating network, and they are using water from Seine to cool houses. So not only rich people who can afford AC can live in cooler places. So, there are many lessons learned from different places. I would say US is not, in most cases, not the best place to learn from, but always anything from anywhere that is useful should be taken aboard.
Lots of changes that we'll need to introduce. Thank you for shedding more light on this morning. Much appreciated. Paweł Szypulski. And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.